with us so that we can all follow. I had to mute your this thing because someone's background noise was just absolutely too much to help us. So just give me a moment. I will share my slide with you so as to properly give you an insight to what we will be doing this evening. Okay. So this evening in particular, we'll be talking about vocabulary development. It's an area of writing that is a bit problematic, and I want to teach about. Okay, I will unmute for like a minute for me to see, for me to just get our responses. Are you able to see my slide?
Yes, you mute me now, so they are hearing me.
Okay, so if you are able to see my slide, that's absolutely fantastic. Okay, because in the last lecture on Tuesday, for those who attended, I made it emphatically clear that you need to read to be able to navigate through writing, because you need to generate ideas and you need to properly develop your vocabulary and grammar. So tonight we are going to go straight into how to develop our vocabulary and grammar. I was able to give some examples last Tuesday, but today I will be changing my slide now, then transit, because I said vocabulary development is in like 2-3 parts. Number one of them is ability to develop alternate words, that is use synonyms. Because if you have a word to use, for example, in the slide you can see in front of you, if you want to use the word develop in a sentence, when you are restating develop the next time, you need to use alternate version. If you are able to use alternate version, that is a synonyms, your mark will go up, and yes, the purpose is for you to score as high as possible. If you look at the sentence in front of you, I said, I have developed myself to the level of a professional. I had to put myself through trainings and programs that will grow. So develop, instead of use develop again, I said grow and nurture my innate abilities. Okay, now, so we would go into how to now develop our vocabulary. And one of the things I recommend, this slide is, you read journals from good sites, journals, articles. I have recommended some business school sites, Harvard Business Review, Yale's Insight Knowledge, Inseed Knowledge, London Business School, and many more of them. So now let us go into proper vocabulary development. So I will change my slide now again and share another slide. Okay. Okay. This is the slide I want to share with you. Please let me just mute my phone. Okay, this is a journal. This journal is picked from one of those journal sites I recommended. And one thing I want us to do, we will take turns to read, because one of the things you need to develop is to read, actually. And you will see I have highlighted some words in red and in green, and they are for the purpose of, these are the words I've been able to pick for our vocabulary development. And these are the things I would want you to do when you are doing your personal studies and reading. Because you need to learn how to use this word. Number one, you catalog them, you use them regularly, and they become part of you. Okay, so I would unmute now, and everybody needs to unmute. Okay, for those just joining, I said this class is about vocabulary development. In the last class, the first thing I mentioned was we need to know how to develop our vocabulary. And the best way to develop our vocabulary is to read journals. Okay, we have 5 of us here, I mean 5. So I'm the 5th person. We are going to take turn to read this journal. Why? Because if I start reading alone, I will get tired. And 2, we will all be reading journals on our own spare time or when we try to study. One of my recommendations for journals is read one in the morning, read the same journal in the afternoon, read it again in the evening, so that the journal, the expressions, the words used in the journal can become part of you. If possible, catalog the words, the expressions. Now, I'll be reading first. From here, the title of the journal is How Automation Will Change Work, Purpose, and Meaning. Somebody's background is affecting us, and I had to unmute because I want everybody to read. Okay. Now, the only thing I will do is that I will mute all of us. Then when it's time, your turn to read, I will mute you. So the thing there is that because I don't want noise to really affect everyone here. Okay. Okay. I've not been able to start because somebody's background is actually very, very noisy. And it's affecting me. Okay. Okay, now I would read. Then the vast majority of humans throughout history worked because they had to. Okay, many found comfort, value, and meaning in their effort, but some defined work as a necessity to be avoided if possible. For centuries, elites in societies from Europe to Asia aspired to absolution from gainful employment. Aristotle defined a man in freedom as the pinnacle of human existence, an individual freed of any concern for necessities of life and with nearly complete personal agency. Telling not to define wealthy merchants as free to the extent that their minds were preoccupied with acquisitions. Okay, Chinwe K. Amora, can you please read for us?
Okay. The title of the journal is
how. This is what you will do. You will continue from where I stopped. I have read paragraph 1, then you read the next paragraph.
Okay.
Yes.
The promise of AI and automation raises new questions about the role of work in our lives. Most of us will remain focused for decades to come on activities of physical or financial production. But as technology provides services and goods at ever low cost, human beings will be compelled to discover new roles that aren't necessarily tied to how we conceive of work today.
Okay. Then, Evelyn, can you read the next paragraph, please? Okay. Do you have any challenge? Because we can't hear you. Hello, Evelyn. Okay. It seems we can't hear you, so I will have to skip now. Afion, can you please read the next paragraph?
Okay. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
I think I lost track, but
Okay, we'll
part
write the
of the
first paragraph.
mm,
Okay, part of the challenge, that's where you start from.
okay, part of the challenge, as economist Brian Arthur recently proposed, will not be an economic one, but a political one. How are the spoils of technology to be distributed? Arthur points to today's political turmoil in the US and Europe as partly a result of the chasm between elites and the rest of society. Later this century, societies will discover how to distribute the productive benefits of technology for two primary reasons: because it will be easier and because they must. Over time, technology will enable more production with less sacrifice. Meanwhile, history suggests that concentration of wealth in too few hands leads to social pressures that will either be addressed through politics or violence or both.
Okay.
Shall I continue to? Okay.
No, the next person will take. Then the person using infinite odd 5, because I don't have your name. That's what is displayed. You can
The
read.
name Nkechi.
Okay. Please read the next paragraph.
But okay. But this then raised a second, more vexing challenge as the benefits of technology become more widely available through reform or revolution. More of us will face the question, when technology can do nearly anything, what should I do and why?
Okay. I will read the next paragraph. Particularly since industrial revolution, technology has transitioned a widening portion of humanity away from the production of life essentials. While many people remain trapped in a day-to-day struggle for survival, a smaller percentage of humans are thus burdened. As AI and robotic systems become far more capable and committed, work will increasingly hum along without us, perhaps achieving what John Maynard Keynes described in Economic Possibility for Our Grandchildren as technological unemployment, in which technology replaces human labor faster than we discover new jobs. Keynes predicted that this would only be a temporary phase of maladjustment, and that within a century, humankind might overcome its fundamental economic challenge and be freed from biological necessity of working. So, next paragraph, Ellen Jagade, please read. I don't think she can hear. Okay, maybe there's a challenge from our hand. Okay. Afion, please read the next paragraph.
If I will see the paragraph better.
Sorry. Afion, we can't hear you.
Okay. I seem to be having a challenge here.
What's the
I can't
challenge?
seem to. Okay, I said I seem to be having a challenge.
Okay. So
Initially, I couldn't move from the slides to the
okay.
next one, but now I'm lost. I don't know. Please, can you just guide me as to
The next paragraph is
the slide?
starts
What's the first word to
with
that begins the slide paragraph you
with
need me to read?
trepidation.
Hello?
I said the next slide starts with trepidation.
Oh.
Okay. If you cannot hear me, okay, I will discontinue the reading, but now go into my explanation. Okay. The purpose
Okay,
the purpose is just for me to
I
highlight.
can hear you now, but it's
Okay, no problem. But let's just move on. I don't want to waste much of
breaking from my end.
on the reading. So now I want to emphasize what I would like to emphasize now is why do we go through all this reading? Okay, I don't want it to be boring, but we need to go through reading. Reading is boring in some sense. Okay, so I'm skipping the reading now and I'm coming to the vocabulary development aspect. And okay, Yetunde, thanks for joining. These are some of the words I've been able to pick. If you can see it, I'm still writing now because I'm adding some. Okay, I have a header here, which is alternate words. I have one which is higher expression and uncommon words or expressions. Okay, now on this side, which is higher alternate words, I have just about 3 of them: majority of humans and they, because that was the first opening part, because it referred to the majority of humans, and when it wanted to refer to the majority of humans the second time, it used the word they. And if you look at throughout the article was talking about work. These are the different words or expressions that were used to replace work: their efforts, gainful employment, activities of physical and financial production, making a living, human activities. The passage was particularly about work, so it used many words and phrases to replace work as it was discussing. And I will quickly take us to some of them so that we can look at it. It said, throughout history, work because they had to. Many found comfort, value, and meaning in their efforts. Instead of saying work, from centuries, elite in society from Europe aspired to absolution from gainful employment. Okay, this person, if you write like this, your mark will go up, definitely. I will still go into the structure that will make our, because if you get the structure right, you will score between 6 and 6.5. But when you start using alternate words, your mark starts going up. You start picking additional points along the road. So now let me quickly move. These are on the still on alternate word. It used AI and automation. AI means artificial intelligence. And in some places, it replaced it with technology. And in some places, it replaced it with robotic system. So because it was talking about machines, in some places, actually, it used machines. So it was talking about the issue of machines replacing humans at work. So it used a lot of alternate words to represent machines in the form of artificial intelligence, automations, and technology. So that's why if you can catalog them like this, it will be good. Now, the higher expression are aspire to absolution, that is, It means to aspire to absolute for something is to run away from something, maybe not wanting to work, because they say aspire to absolution from gainful employment. Okay, and in this part it says spoils of technology. Spoils of technology was meant the same thing as benefit of technology, because in subsequent sentence, instead of repeating spoils of technology, it used the benefit of technology. But if you are using benefit of technology, is a simple expression, but the moment you use the word spoils of technology, it's a higher expression. And once you are deliberate about this, you will be able to score higher. Now, the next state, he said, the chasm between the elite and the rest of the society. The chasm, you can say the difference or the gap. Those are lower level expression. Once you use them, yes, your writing is okay. But immediately you start saying the chasm or the gulf in class, yes, your expression start getting up and your mark also. Then more vexing challenge. This is emphasis. Okay, more daunting challenge, more tasking challenge. These are emphasis that will also help your mark to go up. Okay, another, he said, this other part, he said, technology has transitioned a widening portion of humanity away from the production of life essentials. It has transitioned, you can say it has moved. Okay, but when you say transitioned a widening portion of humanity away, production of life essential, this is another word that the writer used to replace work. Okay, so these are the ways you need to gather this vocabulary. Now, I want to use some of them in sentence. In the last lecture, I posted some that I've crafted myself, but now I want it to be a case of I am crafting it right in your presence, and then when you get back, you have to now practice. When you are making your sentence, you need to be deliberate about it. I will be picking one from the alternate words and one from the higher expression so as to explain it to us. Okay, I'll be picking, let me pick work. Okay, I will use work in the statement now. So one of the things is that the initial statement you are going to make in any sentence is, for example, you will introduce the idea about your idea that you are trying to pass across. Immediately you introduce your idea, you will have to describe or explain what you meant by the idea. Here comes the situation. There is the possibility that some keywords you use in the introduction of your ideas will crop up. So you will need to reuse. That is where you start using your alternate words. Okay. Work is a basic necessity of life. We all have to be involved in gainful something is disrupting me. In gainful employment. We'll all have to be involved in gainful employment. Okay, to make a living. Now, work is a basic necessity of life. And so the next statement, I had to explain what I meant. We'll all have to be involved in gainful employment to make a living. So instead of saying we all have to work to make a living, so we all have to be involved in gainful employment to make a living. So these are the ways we alternate our expressions. Oh, sorry, alternate our words. So when you can alternate your word instead of, and one of the things is that you are allowed to write with a pencil. So if you have made the mistake of repeating yourself and you can think of another alternate word, erase it and then write the alternate word there. Okay, the next thing we will be doing, because I think we will be camping with this thing today, this vocabulary development, because I want us to start making use of it, start using it deliberately, so that sorry, some adverts, this thing start coming and they are coming up on my bar and they are disturbing me from transiting properly. Okay, so the thing there is that now let me go into higher expressions. Okay, I want to use the word spoils of technology, because in the last class I used for example like the chasm between the elite and the rest of the society. Okay, I want to talk about the spoils of use the spoils of technology. Okay, let me say technology has become part of our everyday life, yet many have not been able to harvest the spoils of technology. Okay, now I am repeating technology. If I deem it fit to repeat technology, or I find another word to replace it, I can use another word. Okay, to be able to have not been able to harvest the spoils of technical innovation. Okay, so that's the way it is. You will try to use, you need to read to be able to get these expressions. And the way I am teaching you now, every time I do this thing, I will read. You don't need to stress yourself. In the morning, maybe you are in traffic, you are on your way to work, read a journal. In the afternoon, repeat it. In the evening, repeat it. These words in the journal will become part of you. This same journal, just one journal, tomorrow repeat it. They will take you less than 10 minutes. So for you to be able to gather vocabulary in the same journal, if you read a standard journal, the person writing the journal will alternate the words. There is no two way about it. That's why I'm recommending journals from top business schools. Okay, and they will use higher expressions and uncommon expressions. So we need to see how the person used those higher and uncommon expressions. Okay, so those are the things that we need to learn. Those are the things we need to learn. Okay, as many of us, from whatever link, if you are able to practice with even the highlights that I've given you tonight, I think it will benefit you immensely. Okay, so the other part is now the writing structure. Because if you are over time, because you will not be able to develop your vocabulary in one day, you will have to do it over time. And this is the way to go about it. The next part, which I am going to be talking about, possibly in the next lecture, because the last lecture I gave a lengthy 1 hour lecture on this thing. Now I am breaking it down into bits, so that I will not be giving that's what I would normally do on the online lecture. I will first of all give a lengthy lecture on everything, then I will be breaking it down into bit by bit. Okay, so tonight's lecture, I am rounding off. So what we have done today is just vocabulary development. I know that a lot of people might think, this is not a big task, but look, if you want to move from 6 to 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, these are the things you need to deliberately do every day. There is no shortcut. Anybody that said there is a shortcut is lying to you. That's just it. So I will unmute now. If you just want to pass a comment before the class ends for tonight. It is deliberate that the class is short. Last class was like 1 hour plus. So if you have a comment, please pass your comments before the class ends.
Hi, can you hear me tonight?
Yes, I can hear you, Yetunde.
Okay. I'm not good at this Zoom yet, so I got in a bit late. My question now is, you're giving us 30 minutes. I know it's a free lecture, but it's 30 minutes. The rest of the 30 minutes, you don't want to get up to an hour with us, or you just want to stop at the 30 minutes?
Okay, the thing there is that, okay, the last lecture I spent 1 hour. I don't want to spend 30 minutes when I'm doing a breakdown of any part of the lecture. I don't want to get more than 40 minutes, because I want the message to sink and I want you to understand it. In the last lecture, I spent 1 hour explaining everything, but now I am everything I explained in the last lecture, I'm breaking it down into bits.
Okay.
Yes, that's the point.
Okay. I know it has to do with we all have different ways of assimilating.
Yes.
But yes, what would you advise one? How long do you think it would take one to get familiar with these words, this alternative?
It depends on how you learn and how committed you are to it.
Okay.
Yes. So it depends on how committed you are. Because if you are committed, in 2 weeks you can learn a lot. If you read one journal in a day and you read 10 journals in 2 weeks, you will have learned enough expression to help you in most write-ups.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Good evening, all.
Okay, good evening.
Okay, Isaac,
Good
please.
evening.
My question is two-pronged, I would say. First of all, how do we know how to count the words? Because we're expected to write up to a certain number of words.
I will
how do you build that
next lecture? How do you count the word? Because I have set my timer for 40 minutes. It's going to cut me off now. Okay. So next time I will set it on 40 minutes again. The thing there is that I will teach on how to count the word in the next lecture. I promise that.
Okay, then thank you. Then the second question is, are there key question areas? For instance, the essays that we're expected to write, are there key areas that we need to focus on, especially for those of us who might not have